It was Christmas Eve. I was standing in the checkout line at a luxury jewelry store, clutching a $4,200 bracelet, my girlfriend's dream gift. Everyone said I shouldn't do it. I didn't have the money. But I wanted to show her and myself that I could finally afford the big life. I swiped my card. It went through. And that one swipe became the beginning of the worst financial year of my life. My name is Marcus, and this is the story of how trying to prove I'd made it cost me everything I'd actually built. You're about to hear a true financial story that many would rather hide. But in sharing it, we uncover the patterns, the traps, and the brutal lessons that others can learn from, maybe even you. This is Money Mistake Files, where we take real-life money mistakes and turn them into raw, honest stories that might just save you from the same fate. So settle in, take a breath, and listen closely. Because sometimes the best advice comes from someone else's pain. Let me take you back to who I was before that Christmas Eve, before the bracelet, before everything fell apart. December 2019, I was 31 years old, living in Atlanta, working as a sales manager for a tech company. I was making $85,000 a year plus commissions, which meant in a good year I'd clear $100K. On paper, I was doing well, really well compared to where I'd come from. I grew up poor, like government cheese poor, like my mom working 3 jobs to keep the lights on poor. I wore hand-me-downs until high school and learned early that money meant safety, money meant respect, money meant you'd made it out. So when I landed this job at 28, when I started making real money for the first time in my life, something shifted in me. I wanted people to know I'd made it. I moved into a luxury apartment downtown, $2,100 a month, when I could have lived in a perfectly good place for $1,200. But the address mattered. The building had a doorman, a rooftop pool. That meant something. I leased a BMW 5 Series, $680 a month. I didn't need a BMW, but I needed people to see me pull up in a BMW. I dressed better, ate at nicer restaurants, always picked up the check when out with friends because that's what successful people do, right? And then I met Vanessa. Vanessa was everything I thought I wanted. Beautiful, sophisticated. She worked in marketing for a fashion brand, always looked perfect, had an Instagram feed that looked like a magazine. She grew up with money, real money, old money, and it showed in everything she did. When we started dating in June 2019, I felt like I'd leveled up in life. But here's what I didn't realize. Vanessa had standards I couldn't actually afford. She didn't ask me to spend money. She never demanded anything, but there were expectations, unspoken ones. Nice restaurants weren't Olive Garden. They were the places where entrees started at $40. Dates weren't movie nights. They were wine tastings, concerts, weekend trips to Charleston or Savannah. Gifts weren't thoughtful trinkets. They were designer bags, luxury skincare, experiences that cost hundreds of dollars. And I kept up because I had to. Because if I didn't, what did that say about me? That I was still the poor kid who couldn't afford to play in her world. By December, 6 months into our relationship, I was in trouble. I had about $3,200 in my savings account. I had $11,000 in credit card debt spread across 3 cards, up from $4,000 when we'd started dating. I was making all my payments, but barely. Every month was a shuffle. Pay this card minimum, pay that bill, hope the commission check was good enough to cover the rest. But I kept telling myself, it's temporary. Next quarter's commissions will be bigger. I'll catch up. I just need to hold on a little longer. Then came early December. Vanessa and I were walking through Lenox Square Mall, Christmas shopping. We passed by a jewelry store. Not just any jewelry store, but the kind with security guards and display cases lit like art galleries. Vanessa stopped at the window. Her eyes locked on something. A bracelet. White gold with small diamonds. Delicate, elegant, the kind of thing that screamed expensive without being flashy. "Oh my God," she said softly. "That's beautiful." I looked at the price tag visible in the display. $4,200. My stomach dropped. "That's the kind of piece you keep forever," she said. Not to me, really, just thinking out loud. Then she smiled and took my arm. "Come on, let's keep looking." We walked away, but that bracelet stayed in my mind. Because here's what started happening in my head. Christmas was 2 weeks away. Vanessa and I had been dating for 6 months. This was our first Christmas together. Whatever I got her would set the tone for our future. If I got her something small, something thoughtful, would she think I was cheap? Would she compare me to the guys she dated before, the ones who came from money like she did? But more than that, and this is the part I'm ashamed to admit, I wanted to prove something to myself. I wanted to prove I wasn't that poor kid anymore. I wanted to prove I could afford the $4,200 bracelet, that I belonged in her world. So I started rationalizing. My commission check was coming in January. It would be at least $8,000, maybe $10,000. I could pay off the bracelet within a month, maybe 2. This was an investment in our relationship and our future together. She'd remember this gift forever. It would mean something. The rationalizations stacked up, one after another, until the voice in my head saying you can't afford this got quieter and quieter. December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. I told Vanessa I had to work late. Instead, I drove back to that jewelry store. I walked in trying to look casual, like I bought $4,000 bracelets all the time. The sales associate, a woman in her 40s with perfect makeup and a smile that said she'd seen every kind of customer, greeted me immediately. "Can I help you find something?" "The white gold bracelet with diamonds," I said, "the one in the window display." Her smile got bigger. "Excellent choice. Let me get that for you." She brought it out on a black velvet tray. Up close, it was even more beautiful. I could already picture it on Vanessa's wrist. "This is one of our signature pieces," she said. 18-karat white gold, ethically sourced diamonds. It's $4,200. I nodded like that price was no big deal. "Would you like to put that on a card today?" Here's where I should have stopped. Here's where every rational part of my brain was screaming, "Stop, you can't afford this." But I thought about Vanessa's face when she saw it. I thought about her showing it to her friends, her family, all of them knowing I'd bought this for her. I thought about proving to myself that I'd made it. "Yes," I said. She rang it up. I handed over my credit card, the one with the highest available balance, about $6,000 left on it. She swiped it. I held my breath. "Approved," she said cheerfully. "Would you like this gift wrapped?" "Yes, please." While she wrapped it, I felt this strange mix of emotions: pride, anxiety, excitement, dread, all at once. The commission check in January would cover this. It had to. She handed me the small silver box with the ribbon around it. It felt so light for something that cost so much. I walked out of that store and sat in my car for 10 minutes staring at the box. What had I just done? But I pushed the feeling away. It was done. Christmas Eve was tomorrow. This was going to be worth it. Christmas Eve. Vanessa and I had dinner at her parents' house in Buckhead. Her family was exactly what you'd expect. Big house, perfect decorations. Her dad was a surgeon. Her mom did interior design. Her brother worked in finance. Everyone was polished, successful, comfortable. We exchanged gifts after dinner. Her parents gave me a nice bottle of scotch and a cashmere scarf. Her brother and his wife gave me a gift card to a steakhouse. Then it was my turn. I handed Vanessa the small silver box. She unwrapped it slowly, carefully, opened the lid. Her eyes went wide.
"Marcus," she whispered. "This is... oh my God." She put it on immediately. It caught the light perfectly. Her mom gasped, "Sweetie, that's stunning." Her dad looked at me with new respect, like I'd passed some test. Vanessa came over and kissed me in front of her whole family. "This is the most beautiful gift I've ever received. Thank you." I felt 10 feet tall. For that one moment, all the anxiety, all the debt, all the stress, it was worth it. I'd done it. I'd proven I belonged. We stayed late, drinking wine, her family treating me like I had officially been accepted into their circle. Vanessa kept looking at the bracelet, touching it, showing her mom from different angles. I drove home that night feeling like I'd won something. But the reality was I'd just made the biggest financial mistake of my life. January came. Commission checks were distributed on the 15th. I'd been counting on $8,000 minimum. I got $4,200. I stared at the number on the deposit notification, my stomach sinking.
Fourth quarter hadn't been as strong as I thought. There were clawbacks on deals that fell through, adjustments I hadn't accounted for. $4,200 before taxes. After taxes, $3,100. I needed to cover my rent, $2,100, my car payment, $680, my credit card minimums, now about $400 total across 3 cards, utilities, insurance, everything else. The bracelet was sitting on my credit card at $4,200, accumulating interest at 24.99% APR. I did the math. If I only made minimum payments, that bracelet would cost me over $7,000 by the time I paid it off. And that was if I never missed a payment and never added anything else to the card. I felt panic start to rise. But I told myself February's commission will be better. I'll catch up then. Just get through this month. Therefore, I started making decisions. I paid my rent, paid my car, paid credit card minimums, skipped my student loan payment. I'd catch it up next month. Ate ramen and cheap sandwiches to save on food. Didn't go out. Vanessa noticed. "You okay?" she asked one night in mid-January. "You seem stressed." "Just work stuff," I lied. "Slow start to the year." She was still wearing the bracelet every day. Every time I saw it, I felt this weird mix of pride and nausea. February came. Commission check, $3,800. Worse than January. The company was having a rough quarter. Some major clients had cut budgets. My pipeline was thin. Everyone in sales was feeling it. I was now behind on my student loans. I'd missed a payment. My credit score dropped 30 points. My credit card balances were growing because I was putting necessities on them, gas, food, bills, just to make it through. By March, I was in full-blown financial crisis. Credit card debt, $17,500 across 3 cards. Behind on student loans, 2 payments missed. Savings account, $0. Checking account on the first of the month, $143. I was drowning. And I hadn't told Vanessa any of it. Late March, Vanessa and I were at dinner. A nice restaurant she'd chosen for her birthday. I'd put the dinner on my credit card, another $180 I didn't have. She was talking about a trip she wanted to take in the summer, Napa Valley, wine country. She pulled up Airbnbs on her phone, showing me places that cost $400 a night. "Doesn't this look amazing?" she said, eyes bright. "We could do a long weekend. Maybe invite Kristen and James?" I felt my chest tighten. "Yeah, maybe. Let me check my schedule." "You've been saying that about everything lately. Check your schedule for this. Check your budget for that. Is everything okay?" "I'm fine," I said, too quickly. She put her phone down. "Marcus, talk to me. Something's wrong." "It's just work has been slow. Money is a little tight right now." "How tight?" I wanted to lie, but I was so tired, so exhausted from pretending. "I'm in about $18,000 of credit card debt," I said quietly. "I'm behind on my student loans. I'm barely making rent." She stared at me. "What? How did that happen?" I couldn't tell her the truth. I couldn't say because I've been pretending to be someone I'm not to impress you.
because I bought you a $4,200 bracelet I couldn't afford. Instead, I said, just expenses piled up. Commission's been low. I'll dig out of it. $18,000, Marcus. That's a lot. I know. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't know how to finish that sentence. Because I was ashamed. Because I didn't want her to see me as the broke kid I'd always been. Because I thought I could handle it. The dinner ended quietly. She didn't bring up Nava again, but something shifted between us that night. April through June were a blur of financial disaster. I picked up a second job doing Uber on weekends, driving 12-hour shifts after working all week. I was exhausted constantly, running on caffeine and anxiety. But it wasn't enough. In May, my car was repossessed. I'd missed 3 payments. They came and took it from my apartment parking lot at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday. I stood there in my pajamas, watching them load my BMW onto a tow truck, knowing I'd never get it back. Vanessa helped me that morning, drove me to work, didn't say much, but I could feel her disappointment, her realization that I wasn't who she thought I was. I moved out of my luxury apartment in June, couldn't afford it anymore, moved into a friend's spare bedroom for $600 a month, started taking the bus to work, stopped going out entirely. And Vanessa, she tried for a while, but by July, it was clear. I care about you, she said one night, but this isn't what I signed up for. I'm fixing it, I said desperately. I'm working 2 jobs. I'm paying things down. It's getting better. It's been 6 months, Marcus. It's not getting better. You're drowning, and I can't watch you drown. So you're leaving because I'm broke? I'm leaving because you lied to me about who you were, about what you could afford. You spent money you didn't have trying to impress me, and now you're mad that I'm not sticking around to watch you suffer through the consequences? She was right, and that made it hurt worse. She took off the bracelet, set it on the table between us. I can't keep this, she said. It doesn't feel right. I bought it for you. You bought it to prove something, not because you loved me. You barely knew me when you bought this. She left. I sat there staring at the bracelet. $4,200, or really $7,300 with interest by the time I'd finally paid it off. For what? It took me 2 years to dig out of that debt. 2 years of working 2 jobs, 2 years of living in a tiny room, 2 years of eating cheap food and never going out and watching every single dollar. I sold everything I could. Designer clothes I'd bought, electronics, furniture, all of it gone to make payments. I filed for bankruptcy in August 2020. It was the only way to stop the drowning. My credit score tanked to 510. The bracelet? I tried to sell it back to the jewelry store. They offered me $1,200 for it. A $4,200 bracelet, barely worn, worth $1,200 used? I took the $1,200 and put it toward my debt. By the end of 2021, I was finally above water, barely. Living small, driving a used Honda I bought for $3,500 cash, renting a modest apartment for $900, shopping at Aldi, living within my actual means for the first time in years. And I learned some brutal lessons along the way. Lesson 1, trying to look successful will destroy you. The car, the apartment, the gifts, the lifestyle, none of it was real. It was all borrowed. And when you borrow a life you can't afford, eventually it gets repossessed. All of it. Lesson 2, ego is expensive. Every decision I made from June to December 2019 was driven by ego, by wanting to prove I'd made it, by wanting people to respect me, by wanting to be someone I wasn't. And ego doesn't care about your bank account. Lesson 3, one purchase can spiral into total financial destruction. That bracelet was the match, but the real fire was already there. All the other spending, the lifestyle inflation, the keeping up appearances, one big purchase just accelerated the inevitable. Lesson 4, if you're lying about money to impress someone, you've already lost. I lied to Vanessa, lied to myself. pretended I could afford things I couldn't. And you can't build anything real on a foundation of lies. Not relationships, not success, nothing. Lesson 5. The poorest thing you can do is pretend to be rich. I spent $30,000 convincing people I was successful. I could have invested that money, saved it, used it for a down payment on a house, built actual wealth. Instead, I bought the appearance of wealth, and appearances are worthless. Lesson 6. Real wealth is freedom, not stuff. You know what I have now? A paid-off car, an emergency fund, no debt, a small apartment I can easily afford, money in my 401k, and for the first time in my adult life, I sleep through the night without anxiety. That's wealth. Not a BMW, not a bracelet, freedom. It's been 4 years since that Christmas Eve. I'm 35 now, single, still driving that used Honda, still living small, but I'm rebuilding the right way this time. Sometimes I think about that moment in the jewelry store, holding that bracelet, making that choice. If I could go back, would I change it? Absolutely. But I can't, so I'm sharing it with you instead. If this story made you think twice about a purchase you're considering to impress someone, hit that subscribe button, because every week we're bringing you stories like mine. Real people, real mistakes, real lessons. These aren't just cautionary tales, they're survival guides for keeping up with the Joneses in a world designed to bankrupt you trying. Subscribe, turn on notifications, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because the best gift you can give yourself isn't expensive, it's financial peace. I'll see you in the next story.